Hey guys, how you doing? It's the Do Carpenter. Today is the first of a video series that we're going to go through, as this month we are promoting our Kickstarter, the light and portable rocket mass heater design. I'm going to take you through some of the components today that make this stove so extraordinary and different. It is really an example of good old American ingenuity and re-engineering. So I'm excited to show you this part today, and as we go through the series we'll take you through the whole creative process and all the different components and what makes this thing so special. So stay tuned and here you go. Okay guys, the critical components that I want to talk about today that actually work in unison for one another is this here, the valve. And if we zoom in on it, you can see the valve has a handle and there's a flapper in there, and it directs the exhaust whether to go down here through the bench and around and out, or whether to direct it straight up and out. And this is a critical component of the stove, because the real engine of the entire stove, if we back up, is this right here. From this point out, you have a aircrete insulated double wall stovepipe, and that is the engine to the whole system. We start a fire down here in the gasification chamber. It goes up through a heat riser. The downdraft shroud directs it down through the exhaust, and then it either has the opportunity to go through the bench and out, or the opportunity with that valve closing off the bench to go directly out. Now when you first start the stove, it takes about 5 minutes. Everything begins to get really warmed up, including the aircrete that surrounds this double wall stovepipe. If I zoom in on it, you can see the aircrete that is in this double wall stovepipe. It will absorb the heat really quickly, and it holds it for a long time. That is the critical physical element of aircrete that makes this whole system work. So what ends up happening is, once this system is warmed up, then you can flop the valve over and close it off to this way and direct it through the bench. It will begin heating the bench up, what I call the hot air vacuum, because it pulls so hard it actually replaces an inline fan booster system and creates a negative pressure in the whole system. There's always a vacuum coming out of this system and going up this stovepipe because it flews that hard, just simply because of the physical properties of aircrete. Now this valve is also a very critical element, and how it's designed and how it works is special, because as this air, if it totally closed off the air going out the stovepipe and directed all the air through this, there's a good chance that the battery or the bench would absorb enough of the energy that the stovepipe would begin cooling down. So I had to design this valve so that only about 95% of the air is in that vacuum is directed through the bench. The other 5% is heat that comes directly out of the downdraft shroud after coming out of the heat riser, and it's still extremely hot. So that 5% of air goes up and it maintains the heat in the stovepipe. Now in moderate climates like we have in Idaho, you can get away with having this part of the pipe uninsulated. In really extreme cold climates like in Alaska where I used to live, where it's 40, 50 below for weeks at a time, you may need to insulate this part of the stovepipe as well. just so that the energy, the heat energy, isn't lost into the room, and that heat energy can be maintained and used to act as a draw on the whole system. Now what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to pull this, I'm going to pull the valve out. No, I won't pull it out. I'll just highlight the top of it, and I'll pull the top off. So I'm going to pull the top off of the valve. There we go. So that we can look in it. And I'll show you the arc points and how it works. So now we're looking in the top of the valve. I pulled the top off of it. And you can see the flapper valve has certain arc points, and they're designed that way on purpose. If we were to draw a line from this corner of this arc straight up, you'll see, in fact I'll do it real quick, I'll just put a blue line up right there. You'll see that it only closes off about 95% of the area of that circle. That is on purpose, guys. Once this stovepipe gets heated up, it creates a negative pressure and a vacuum and a draw and a really hard flue on the whole system. When we have that 5%, 6% of the air that is coming straight out of the downdraft shroud and it's still extremely hot, what it does is it maintains the heat and the energy going up and out the insulated stovepipe, and it keeps it warm and it keeps it hot, and it maintains that draw. That's really critical to the whole system, especially as your fuel that you have working inside, your fuel that you have working inside the burn chamber or the gasification chamber, as it starts to diminish and draw down and burn away. You want the stove to continue drawing hard and pulling lots of oxygen in so that it maintains it as hot as possible. Now, in the prototype, in fact, I'm going to go do a video tomorrow, and I'm going to go stay out at Julie's cabin and run the prototype and show it to you. And what it'll end up doing is it draws so hard through the whole time as that fire begins to burn down, it actually continues pulling so much oxygen in that it just burns hot the whole time. And even as the fuel diminishes and starts going away, it still burns it really quickly and fast, and it just kind of burns out all at once. And so that's what you want. I also have an optional heat coil system that has that hooks to the slider, the damper on the front door, and it will, when it starts to run down and get to a certain heat level, the coil opens up and pulls the damper shut so that your stovepipe doesn't continue pulling hot air out of the building and through the bench and diminishing the heat in your battery that will continue to radiate out for 18 to 24 hours. I just wanted to give you guys kind of an idea. And also, when you take these plans or have me make it or have a regular shop make it, this thing will just pop rivet together. All the plans have lap joints. Now let me get the stove over where I can show you guys those lap joints. So if I just zoom in on a joint, you'll see that all the joints are lap joints, and so all the flat pieces of sheet metal will be drilled out and pop riveted together. So the assembly of this is extremely quick and user friendly, and it just goes together seamless. Now if we pull the door off, let me pull it off real quick. You can see now the burn chamber. Also guys, I just want to let you guys know that that door just comes on and off by dropping the pin down through these hinges. And all you have to do is pull the pin off and the door just flops off. I'm also going to have accessories for this stove that will allow you to just change the door and put a different door on, and one that has a pellet feeder and a hopper on the door, and you just pull the pin, put the pellet feeder on, and close it, and you can dump pellets in it, and you can burn pellets through this thing as well. So it is going to be a really user-friendly, incredible system as it comes to life for you guys. Right here you can see the auxiliary air intake. There's a 2-inch space behind the initial burn chamber where all the gasification and the fire happens. And when that any gases, because it's pulling so hard and so much oxygen through, any gases that don't get completely burned in the burn chamber go up through into the vortex area and get some additional oxygen where they flash. And this oxygen that's going in there, it's preheated, guys. It's ready to go. And it flashes, and as it goes up through the heat riser, it runs so hot, around 2,000 degrees, and it just burns everything. When I took Julie's stove apart to clean it out and check and see if there was any creosote built up in the bench and whatnot, there was nothing. There was just kind of like a white dusty coating, like a powdered sugar on the inside of the pipe. And all we had to do was just take a piece of PVC pipe on a shop vac and stick it in there and do a little vacuum, and it was gone. We probably didn't even need to do that. So anyways, there you go. I just wanted to explain that we have auxiliary or accessories for the door, where there will be a pellet feeding system to run this stove, so that you could just put pellets in a hopper and run it all night if you wanted. I also wanted to explain the valve system and how it works and how it maintains the heat going up the flue to maintain a really hard draw on the whole system, and why the design of this valve is so critical. Also guys, if this downdraft mass containment apparatus were not on there, you would have all the radiant heat going into the building. Now you can adjust the depth of this pea gravel in here and take it up and down and add or subtract the amount of radiant heat that radiates up off of the top of this system. You can cook or do whatever you want on top here. We got a lot of things coming, and I just wanted to explain why this stove is so different from any other rocket mass heating system you've ever seen. And we will go through tomorrow some other aspects of it as I go through and actually burn a fire in the initial one that I built, and we'll go from there.